This offseason, the New York Rangers will have a big decision to make on whether or not they want to give a certain player the captaincy for the foreseeable future. And of course, with the team having traded away their most recent captain in Jacob Trouba this past regular season over to the Anaheim Ducks for a 4th-round pick in this year's draft, as well as Urho Vaakanainen, a solid defenseman. But the main thing is they got rid of their former captain, which of course means they have the option of assigning a new one. And there are a few options out there available for the Rangers that I think kind of make sense. I have 3 total possible options that are really the only 3 players that I think even somewhat make sense to give it to. And then there's 2 that I think make a lot of sense there. And then there is one that I kind of have as my personal kind of favorite choice, but you obviously can let me know your thoughts and your kind of choices and options and favorites in the comment section down below. But let's get right into it here. And first off, take a look at the 3 names that I think have a realistic or at least somewhat possible option, because there are, of course, some players who I just think absolutely have no chance of getting that captaincy, even like a Chris Kreider, of course. I think he has 0% chance. There's really no way. I mean, obviously never really 0, but let's be honest here. He's not going to get it with all the rumors and kind of stuff that's going on behind the scenes of the past couple seasons. A guy like that is definitely not going to get it. Someone like, of course, Alexis Lafreniere, I think he's too young and isn't quite, worthy of getting that quite yet. So I think there's obviously a few players on this team who I just don't see it possibly happening for. But these are 3 names here that I think make at least some bit of sense, and that is Adam Fox, Vincent Trocheck, and JT Miller. Those are the only 3 players that I think have a somewhat possible option of even getting the captaincy being realistic here. I think those are 3 players mainly. I would kind of put a tier above JT Miller there for guys like Adam Fox and Vincent Trocheck for the likelihood of getting the captaincy there. If I had to kind of power rank the kind of possibility there, I would probably go Adam Fox 1, Trocheck 2, and then I would go JT Miller 3. Now, personally, I think they'd all be decent options there. I just think with JT Miller having, just gotten here this past season, obviously from the trade that happened with the Vancouver Canucks, to me, he's less likely to probably get it, although I do think he could be a great captain. I think, obviously we don't know exactly what happens in the locker room there, but he does seem like a good veteran leader there. He seems like a guy who, by most accounts there, for most teammates, probably like the guy. Obviously, a certain one over in Vancouver who's Swedish might not love the guy, but everyone else, I think for the most part there, doesn't have too many problems with a guy like JT Miller there. He seems like a good veteran leader, has a lot of experience, is the exact kind of guy that you want your young players looking up to and you're trying to replicate their play style, like him obviously having that toughness, that grit, the physicality that he obviously brings, and the energy. So I really do think he could potentially be a great leader for this team, and if he did get the captaincy, I would not be against that at all. Now for a guy like Vincent Trocheck, who I do think him and Adam Fox have the most likely chance of actually getting the captaincy, and I think Vincent, being a kind of somewhat local guy, obviously, he has been on this team for quite a few years now. He is definitely loved by, I would say, most fans. I mean, I think, yes, this past season, maybe didn't play his best overall hockey that he has played with, the Rangers so far, but I still think had a decent season there, has been a good player, is once again like JT Miller, where he does, at moments play with that bit of toughness, bit of energy there, a bit of grit, a bit of physicality, although he's been an undersized guy, definitely not afraid to stick up for teammates and, chirp after whistles, do all that kind of stuff there. He does seem like a pretty solid veteran leader. He has been around the NHL for quite some time now, has been around this organization for a good amount of time now as well, so I think he's a player who definitely, could make a good amount of sense to be the captain. And of course, he does seem like a really good guy on and off the ice. Definitely someone in the locker room who, I don't think it'd be a bad idea to have a lot of young guys kind of looking up to, trying to replicate, some of his game and their game, obviously. So I think overall, either one of those guys, Vincent Trocheck or JT Miller, definitely make a lot of sense to possibly be the next captain. But now we have Adam Fox, who I do think is maybe arguably the best option. I mean, I personally, if I had to pick one or the other, I might lean towards Trocheck, but Adam Fox being the captain, I'm not against by any means. I think either one of those guys are the 2 kind of clear leading candidates. I put JT Miller in here because I do think he is, somewhat of an option and does make sense, although if I had to, give some odds to these guys, I would definitely heavily favor guys like Adam Fox and Vincent Trocheck. I don't know exactly who would have the big edge over one or the other. I think maybe it would be Foxy, but personally, I kind of like Trocheck a little more to be the captain, but that's just me. But now for Adam Fox, I do think he's obviously a pretty good candidate as well. Is at this point, somewhat of a veteran guy, has been around the league for quite some time now, has been around the Rangers organization for quite some time, is of course, somewhat of a local kid as well. So that just an extra little boost there for the fans mainly. But obviously a lot of fans love the guy. He's a former Norris Trophy winner. He is a true superstar, top level defenseman around the league. He is a true number one kind of guy. At this point, maybe he isn't a top 2 or 3 defenseman, but I would say is still a top 5 or at least top 6 around that range for sure. Guy in the entire league, and definitely could potentially win another Norris Trophy at some point, but definitely is a key player for this Rangers team. Is a true superstar. Seems like a good leader on and off the ice. I think overall, once again, just like the other guys there, I think he is someone who, if you have a lot of your young guys looking up to, trying to replicate some of their game and their game, of course, and, just kind of learning from them and taking some advice from them. And at the end of the day, it's not the easiest thing to pick a captain. I think it's definitely a tough thing, and you have to really be around these guys a lot and really see, how all the players kind of react with certain guys, obviously as leaders and stuff like that. So we don't exactly know who is going to be the truly best candidate. These are the 3 guys who I think make the most sense there and have a realistic shot at actually becoming the next captain. And of course, it is possible, I guess, if the team doesn't name a captain as well, which is another thing. So that's a possibility. We'll have to wait and see what happens, of course, with Mike Sullivan now kind of running the team there, being the head coach. I would assume he's definitely going to have some pretty big say on this situation here. So we'll see what happens. We'll see who he kind of likes and whether or not they ultimately decide to pick one. But personally, I would hope this team does pick one. I hope they do go out there and pick a captain. I think any of those 3 guys that I did mention there, JT Miller, Vincent Trocheck, or Adam Fox, make a lot of sense there. All 3 of them have their different, positives and kind of, weaknesses, I guess you could say, some good things, some bad things about them, and possibly being leaders in the next captain. And another problem is, of course, that you do get a lot of spotlight on you. If you're named the next captain of the New York Rangers, it's a historic, massive, franchise with a massive fan base, right? It's a huge team. So you're going to get a lot of spotlight on you there from national media in Canada, all that kind of stuff there. So there's going to be a lot of attention on you. So some players, maybe like Adam Fox, may not want all that attention, right? Maybe a guy like Trocheck or Miller would want that more. I don't exactly know, right? So that's kind of another big factor there as well that, again, we don't know, and we're not really going to know until they end up actually deciding who the next captain is going to be. So we'll have to wait and see, but I definitely am excited and hoping that the Rangers do name a captain at some point this offseason. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video pretty much. Obviously, like I said, I think there's 3 candidates that have a realistic shot at possibly getting that next captaincy, and that is JT Miller, Vincent Trocheck, and Adam Fox. Personally, I would lean towards Trocheck, but that's just my personal opinion. As always, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts. Who do you think are some realistic candidates to potentially get the next captaincy, of course, and also, who's your favorite? Do you want to see it be Adam Fox? Do you want to see it be Trocheck, JT Miller, a different player? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for daily New York Rangers content, as it does help the channel out a ton, and I would really, really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.